Hello, everybody. Vasu Vaddiparty here, coming up on the Make the Money and Run podcast for July. What is today? July 12th, 2021. The official first half of the year ended 2 weeks ago, but this is the de facto first half end of the year for Major League Baseball. Tonight, the Home Run Derby, an anticipated Home Run Derby tonight in Colorado, of all places. No humidor. Baseballs are different. Balls are going to be flying. Somebody see if there's insurance on that Coors Field scoreboard tonight. It's going to be a very interesting Home Run Derby tonight in Colorado. We'll talk about Major League Baseball and all the divisions, go division by division, see who's a buyer and who's a seller. Going into the second half of the season, the Yankees-Red Sox will open on Thursday night as the only game coming back out of the All-Star break, and then everybody else will open back up on Friday. And then, of course, training camp starts in 3 weeks for the NFL. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. But right now, let's get it started. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We're powered by Stables Media. If you have any comments or any questions about any of your baseball teams or any games that you're interested in wagering on, let me know here at mtmerpodcast@gmail.com. Charlie O on assignment. He'll be back on Thursday and Friday as the second half of the baseball season starts. Let's start with the NBA here. Oh, you can catch us on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Right now at 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, and then Thursdays at 12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and then Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget, you can download, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you get your podcast. Apple, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google are the best ones to get it at. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. Again, we're on social media. Each of us have a Facebook page, individual Facebook page. We have a Make the Money and Run Facebook page. Our Twitter site is at MTMAR Podcast. And again, our email is mtmarpodcast@gmail.com. All right, we start a new week. The end of the baseball season ended on Sunday. Lots of things to talk about there. But let's start out with the NBA. Boy, what a game last night. The NBA Finals, Game 3. Milwaukee Bucks came out and showed they have a little fight in them after all. A 120-100 victory over the Phoenix Suns in Game 3. The series now is Phoenix leads the series 2-1. Game 4 will be Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern on ABC. That's 6 o'clock on the West Coast. Game 3, the difference in Game 3 was the second quarter. Milwaukee outscored Phoenix 35-17 to break open a 2-point deficit. They ended up leading by 15 at the half and then on to a 20-point victory. Phoenix did make a comeback in the third quarter. How about Cameron Johnson? If you haven't seen the highlight on that dunk, Cameron Johnson went way up through P.J. Tucker and got the foul, got the basket, got a little excitement back into Phoenix. They got it down to 6, but then the Bucks went on a 9-0 run, got it back up to 15, ended up closing out by 20. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 13 points in the second quarter, 23 points in the second half as Phoenix made that comeback. Chris Middleton had 18. Drew Holiday was the big story, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. And, of course, Giannis had 41 points. As a look at the box score here, while you're looking at me here, it was pretty interesting to see Mikal Bridges only had 4 points. Jay Crowder had 18. DeAndre Ayton got off to a good start. He had 12 in the first quarter, 18 overall for the game. And then Devin Booker, 3 of 14 shooting and 1 of 7 from 3. He only finished with 10 points. They're going to need a lot out of Devin Booker. Chris Paul, 8 of 14 from the field. He finished with 19 points. He had 9 assists. He did turn the ball over a little bit, 4 turnovers for the Suns as they committed 14 turnovers to 21 assists. So not a very good percentage there. 3 steals and 3 assists overall. Sorry, they had 21 assists and 36 rebounds right there. Milwaukee, on the other hand, out-rebounded them 47 rebounds. They got 28 assists. They had 8 steals. They had 2 block shots. And they had 13 offensive rebounds amongst those 47 rebounds. So very interesting night for Phoenix. They will open up Game 4 as a 4-point favorite, 220.5. Lots of things have to happen here for Phoenix to get back into the game. Of course, they did get blown out by the Clippers in Game 3 after going up 2-0 to LA. They were able to come back and win Game 3, and then they ended up winning the Game 6 as the 2 road games. But Game 4 for Phoenix, a 4-point underdog. Devin Booker has to shoot better. Cameron Johnson, they need some bench play off the bench. Cameron Johnson, of course, no Dario Saric there. He's out for the rest of the series. Frank Kaminsky came in for a few minutes in Game 2. Phoenix covered both games at home. Milwaukee covered Game 3 at home. The game did stay under by a half a point yesterday. The over-under was 220.5 or 221, depending on where you got it. But it did stay under 120 to 100, the final score. Again, Giannis, 41 points. Jrue Holiday, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. He played well. Don't you think Milwaukee and the Deer District will be coming back ready to go on Wednesday night to see if they can even this series and make it a best out of 3? Let's check out Facebook and YouTube here. How you doing, Nick Robinson? Love the content. Looking for a little fun with a home run derby. Matt Olson to advance over Mancini. All right, we'll get to that in a little bit. Thanks to Nick Robinson, our former intern. He's going to come back with us as well, too. But right now it's the NBA Finals. Lots of things going on. Milwaukee played well at home. They did get the Game 7 victory over Brooklyn, and then they did beat Atlanta in Game 6 on the road as well, too. So they're going to have to win a road game. There's no doubt about it. They're going to have to win at least one road game because Phoenix does have home court. But right now it's 2-1 series lead. Milwaukee -4, 220.5. Some of the situations that went on in this game as I look at it. In the second quarter was the big quarter. Second quarter, Phoenix only went 7 of 19. They went 0 of 5 from 3, only scored 17 points, whereas Giannis had 11 points in the second quarter, 35 overall in the second quarter for the Phoenix Suns. They were plus 21. PJ Tucker was plus 16 for Giannis. Middleton and Holiday both plus 18. Chris Middleton didn't have a great game as well, too, shooting-wise still. He's not back yet from the shooting-wise, but he did have 18 points. He did have 7 rebounds. He did have 6 assists, but the 18 points for him came on 6 of 14 shooting, 3 of 7 from three-point land. Holiday, 8 of 14, 5 of 10 from 3, the 5 rebounds, all defensive, 9 assists. He did have a steal. He did have a block shot, a great block shot he had on Chris Paul that led to a break. And then off the bench, Bobby Portis had 11 points. Pat Connaughton had 8 on 2 of 4 shooting from the three-point land. So they're going to need more bench points. They only had 19. They had 22 bench points to Phoenix. Cameron Johnson came off the bench. How about that? 14 for Cameron Johnson. Cameron Payne, who had been a star against the Clippers, was only 3 of 10. 0 of 2 from three-point range. He ended up with 7 points. And then in garbage time, Torrey Craig had 2. Frank Kaminsky had 6. And Tyshawn Alexander had 2 points. I know a lot of names that people don't know, but that's the way it's been going right now. It's been all the starters and very little bench production. Brook Lopez has to get it going a little bit too. He had 11 points. He had one big game early. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 17 free throw attempts. That was more than the entire Phoenix Suns team had. 11 of 16 shooting for Phoenix from the line as a team, whereas Giannis went 13 of 17, 76.5%. Nobody's counting in his ear right there like they were doing on the road. So he's making the free throws. He did go 0 of 2 from 3. I don't know why he ever takes a 3. Honestly, I really don't know why he ever takes a 3. But Giannis Antetokounmpo, 41 points, plus 20 in the point differential, 14 of 23 from the field, a lot of that inside 10 feet, 13 of 17 from the line, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal. He didn't have a block shot, but he was the man last night. And then Jrue Holiday, complimentary piece, 21 points. As we said, and Middleton, 18. What do you think about Phoenix and Milwaukee, everybody? Get back to us on Facebook Live and YouTube Live for Game 4. Milwaukee, a 4-point favorite, 220.5. This is the situation that Phoenix was in last time as well, too. And they went into L.A. up 2-1 in Game 4 after getting beat in Game 3. Chris Paul made his first appearance in that Game 3. Remember, he missed the first 2 games of the Clippers series. It looks like he's back. There's no doubt that Chris Paul is back, and he's been a big part of this Phoenix Suns' success. Do they go into Game 4 as a 4-point underdog and sneak that game out of there and go back to Phoenix 3-1? Because remember, the Clippers won Game 5 in the Western Conference Finals until Phoenix ended up winning in Game 6 back in L.A. Milwaukee, -4, 220.5. Check out our daily postings. We'll have picks. Charlie O and I will have picks every day. We have no baseball to talk about. We'll talk about the home run derby in a little bit. But right now, if I had to look at it, I would have to say Phoenix would be able to come back in Game 4. They've seen what Milwaukee has to throw at them. They were in the game for the first half until the second quarter when they couldn't shoot at all. And you got to think that Phoenix is going to have a shot to win in Game 4 in Milwaukee, take a 3-1 series lead. That's Wednesday night, however, 9 Eastern. We'll figure that out by then. But right now, Phoenix has to shoot better. Devin Booker, I'm not sure if he's healthy from his broken nose or not, or his shooting is just off. It's going to be very interesting to see how he responds to a 3 of 10 shooting night and an 0 of 3 from the three-point land. 0 of 3, what was it? It was 3 of 14 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. So you look at Devin Booker, that's the key right there. He's the best player that the Phoenix have. I know Chris Paul is getting all the adulation right now, but Devin Booker, if he doesn't shoot well, Jay Crowder had himself a good game. He had 18 points. 6 of 7 from 3, 6 of 7 overall, so he didn't even take a 2-point shot. So Jay Crowder, a big one. Ayton had 12 points in the first quarter, was in foul trouble in the second and third period, only ended up with 6 points more, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals. He did not have a block. And then we talked about Booker and Paul, 11 of 22 shooting. That's 50%, but we said Booker 3 of 14 from the field. Excuse me. Meanwhile, PJ Tucker 3 of 5. Brook Lopez only 4 of 9 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. Middleton 6 of 14. He played 40 minutes. He and Holiday played 40 minutes. 3 of 7 from the 3-point arc, but made all his free throws. He's a great free throw shooter, and he had 7 rebounds and 6 assists. He did have a steal, but 18 points. 48, 59, 77, 98 points for the starters for Milwaukee, whereas I believe it was 22, 40, 50, 69. So 98 to 69, the Milwaukee starters outscored Phoenix in Game 3. It'll be interesting to see how Phoenix responds. Monty Williams, a good coach, the coach of the year. He's going to get his guys ready for Game 4, and I got a feeling that line would have gone up based on a 20-point win yesterday under normal circumstances. But the fact the odds makers think it's going to go down, that Phoenix is going to make it closer, it's down from 4.5 and 5 in some places for Game 3, down to where it is now at 4 right now with 220.5. The total pretty much the same as it has been from Game 1 start. Phoenix again leads the series 2-1. Game 4 Wednesday night at 9 Eastern. The second quarter, a big quarter for Milwaukee, so Phoenix will have to come back out. They did have a 2-point lead in the first quarter at the end of the buzzer. 3-point lead at the end of the buzzer because they got outscored by 18. 15-point halftime lead. They were able to make it close, get it back down to 6. Cameron Johnson, a big part of that. But then Milwaukee went on a 9-0 run, ended up getting to a 20-point victory, 120-100, the final score in Game 3. Phoenix with a 2-1 series lead. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud. You can download, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you get your podcasts, anywhere you get the Make the Money and Run podcast. We're here for your benefit. We're here to help you make some money. We're here to help you win some games and get going with that. How'd you do in baseball this year? We'll get to all the baseball stuff in a second, but I want to know what everybody thinks about Milwaukee and Phoenix. Is this going to be a series in Game 4? Is it going to be 2 games apiece, or is Phoenix going to take it 3-1 and then eventually close it out within the next 3 games? It's going to be hard to come back from a 3-1 deficit. Ask the Los Angeles Clippers when playing up against the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix still had pretty good defense, but boy, Milwaukee showed up on defense last night. And Antetokounmpo, I can't talk enough about him with all the flack that he takes for his bad free throw shooting and the bad shots he takes from 3. He just goes in there and grinds. This is a guy who might not have even been in the series to begin with, and here he is putting up numbers like that with 41 points last night and 23 in the first half. So Phoenix, a 2-1 series lead over Milwaukee with Game 4 on Wednesday night. Phoenix with the 2-1 series lead. All right, let's move on now. As we go on to Major League Baseball, we'll talk about the home run derby a little bit here. The home run derby in Major League Baseball. There are your 8 competitors: Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Joey Gallo, Trevor Story, Matt Olson, Trey Mancini, Salvador Perez, and Pete Alonso, and they have them in rankings. Shohei Ohtani will go up against Soto. Joey Gallo versus Trevor Story. The All-Star week is in Colorado. Trevor Story, the hometown favorite. Don't be surprised if he wins it, even though he only has 11 home runs. Joey Gallo, what a year he's had. They just got done playing the Oakland A's. He's hit 6 of his 24 home runs versus the A's this year. Juan Soto, they had a rough weekend in San Francisco to the Washington Nationals. And how about Shohei Ohtani? 1 of 4 guys with 33 or more home runs and 70 or more RBIs at the All-Star break. Reggie Jackson, Mark McGwire, and some guy named Mantle were the other 3 coming into this year. So Shohei Ohtani doing incredible things, not to mention the fact he's 4-1 on the pitching mound. So he's going to be a pitcher and a hitter in the All-Star game. Tell me what you think about that as well, too, on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live as well. You can download and subscribe, like I said, anywhere you want. The Home Run Derby in Colorado tonight, they're not going to use the humidor for the baseballs. The baseballs are a little different, so they're going to fly. Shohei Ohtani has the most home runs over 450 feet, 6 home runs over 450 feet. He leads the major leagues in home runs over 425 feet. And the home run he hit in Seattle, it just doesn't happen at night, especially on Friday night. He hit a home run off the second deck facing in Seattle. And if you've ever been to Safeco Field, you know how far that is and what a blast it was. So he's the odds-on favorite to go into it. In fact, let's go to the Derby odds right now. Derby odds, Ohtani at plus 175, Joey Gallo second, plus 275, Pete Alonso plus 500, Matt Olson of the Oakland A's plus 650, Trevor Story, the hometown favorite, plus 750, Juan Soto plus 800, Trey Mancini plus 1,200. We'll get to a Trey Mancini story here in a second. And then Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals. No catcher has ever won the home run derby. He's got 21 home runs. He's at plus 1,400. Let's go through those home run totals again real quick. We didn't really talk about it. 33 for Ohtani, 11 for Soto. That's one matchup. Gallo 24 to Trevor Story's 11. That's the 2-7 matchup. Matt Olson 23 with the Oakland A's. Doesn't get a lot of recognition, but he's a hell of a ball player. A great defensive first baseman as well. Trey Mancini, 16 home runs. How about Trey Mancini? Sitting out all last year because of a cancer diagnosis. Had to go through all the chemotherapy. Had to go through everything to get back. And here he is. He had a 16th home run yesterday against the White Sox reliever Liam Hendricks in the bottom of the ninth to tie the game, to send the games into extra innings. Home run to right field off Liam Hendricks, one of the better closers in the American League. So good for Trey Mancini. Kind of a side story to root for him in the home run derby because of everything he's gone through in the last 2 years. And then Salvador Perez, no catcher has ever won a home run derby. He's got 21 home runs. He leads all catchers in home runs. Pete Alonso, 17 home runs. He won the home run derby 2 years ago in 2019. He has 17. Pete Alonso, the number 5 seed in the home run derby matchup. That should be 1-8. Ohtani, Soto, Gallo 2-7 for Trevor Story, Matt Olson 3-6, Salvador Perez 4-5 are the rankings, and then they'll play. All right. As we said, home run derby odds: Ohtani 175, Gallo 275, Alonso 500, Matt Olson 650. If you want to take a flyer on Trevor Story, who knows that ballpark better than any of the other competitors, he's a plus 750. Juan Soto at plus 800, Mancini at 1,200, and Perez at plus 1,400. Here are your first-round matchups according to the sportsbook community. You can bet on these first rounds right now. After each round is done, each of the sportsbook will put up a second round and a third round. There'll be a semifinals, and then it'll be a final. So it's a 3-round deal for the home run derby. Ohtani versus Soto. Shohei Ohtani minus 260 to beat Soto in the first round. Soto plus 210. Pete Alonso minus 250 versus Salvador Perez. Salvador Perez plus 200, even though he's got more home runs than Pete Alonso does. Joey Gallo minus 200 again over the hometown favorite Trevor Story. Might be worth it to put a little on Trevor Story in the first round. Joey Gallo, 24 home runs, as we said, can hit the ball out of any park. And Trevor Story knows this park very well. So I'll be interested to see that matchup as well. I mean, we're all going to watch Ohtani, but holy cow, at some point you got to watch Trevor Story too. And then Matt Olson minus 215 over Trey Mancini, the sentimental favorite. Mancini at plus 175. Matt Olson at 215 as well. All right, when we come back in 30 seconds, we'll talk Major League Baseball. We'll close out the first half, and we'll get to the second half. Who's your team? Are you buyers? Are you sellers? What do you think? Let us know on Facebook. There's some interesting possibilities going on. San Francisco Giants, the Milwaukee Brewers, and the New York Mets lead their divisions in the National League. In the American League, the Boston Red Sox, the Chicago White Sox, and the Houston Astros all lead their divisions in the American League. How about some of those walk-offs yesterday? How about some of those games to close out the first half, the All-Star part of the season? It's not officially the first half, but how about to close out to the All-Star break and get ready for the second half of the season? I'm Vasu Vaddiparty, the Make the Money and Run podcast, powered by Stables Media, right here on Facebook and on YouTube Live. If you miss any of it, you can download, subscribe anywhere you get your ratings, anywhere you get your podcast. I want you to subscribe, review, and rate, as those are important to us as well. So we want to get as many people on here to help them with the wagering aspect of sports and sports wagering. Don't forget, when football starts in 3 weeks, we'll be getting going on the NFL and the futures bets there, and also probably some of the early week lines in terms of point spreads and overs and unders as far as the NFL relates. All right, back in 30 seconds. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 12th, 2021. See you in 30. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast, part 2. Vasu Vaddiparty here. Charlie O off on assignment. He'll be back with us on Thursday as the second half of baseball season starts. By the time Thursday rolls around, we'll have game 4 of the NBA. The Phoenix Suns are now leading the series 2-1 against Milwaukee. Milwaukee, 120-100 victory over the Suns. The series now 2-1 for Phoenix. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 41 points and 13 rebounds. Drew Holiday had a good all-around game, 21 points. 5 rebounds, 9 assists for the Milwaukee Bucks. They outscored them 35-17 in the second quarter, able to take a 15-point lead and cruise to a 20-point victory in the second half. Although Phoenix did make it interesting, Cameron Johnson off the bench had himself a good game. He may have earned himself some playing time going forward here in Game 4 and Game 5 for Phoenix and Milwaukee. Devin Booker only 3 of 14 from the field. Only had 10 points, 1 of 7 from 3. He's got to get it going if Phoenix is going to have any chance. DeAndre Ayton had 18, but he had 12 in the first quarter. He was in foul trouble in the second and third periods and was not able to contribute much more than what he did in the first quarter. All right, Major League Baseball, the All-Star game we talked about, the All-Star Home Run Derby. We don't have the lineups yet for the All-Star game and the starting pitchers. We'll get that to you on a post later, or we'll post it tomorrow. Don't really have a say on who to wager on a game like that. It's an exhibition game. I saw the line at -110 both ways, and the over-under is 11. And to me, 11 is very low for an all-star game in Colorado. So I think that might go over, but it depends on who you got pitching. Some of the pitchers that were named to the all-star game pitched on Sunday, so they're going to be ineligible play. So they've had all-star replacements coming in all weekend. A lot of them replaced in the National League. Walker Buehler, Yadier Molina, although he said he's not going to go as well, so they're going to have to sub for the sub. Omar Narvaez from the Milwaukee Brewers is the other catcher that was a replacement. So those are some of the subs that go in. Jacob deGrom elected not to play. Carlos Correa in the American League. Jose Altuve are not going to go in the American League. Here's why I think the All-Star game is somewhat of a joke. The Home Run Derby is good because it's a competition and you can see whatever. It's like what the NBA did with the skills competition and the three-point shooting competition. Anybody in the NBA can dunk, and so that's more of a judgment thing than it is for an actual skill thing going by time. Here's what I think about the All-Star game. Guys want to be named to the All-Star team, but they really don't want to go. They want the days off. And you know why they want to be named to the All-Star team? Because a lot of them have incentives in their contract. I'm sure some of the guys that got named to an All-Star team have a $500,000 clause or $1 million clause or something in there that will pay them for being named to the All-Star team. Do they actually want to go and not spend time with their families? I don't blame them for wanting to spend time with their families, but you got to. It's a showcase, and you got to go, especially if you're a young guy. You want to get your name out there. I can understand if some of these veterans don't want to go, but the fact is they're using this. If they get snubbed, believe me, they're the first ones to come out and say they got snubbed, even though they didn't want to go. But the point is, they want to get their money. They want to get those incentives that are out there in the All-Star contract. So that's basically what it's about. So the All-Star game tomorrow night, 8:00 Eastern on Fox. It'll be interesting to see if I can get the lineups here before we drag out our worldwide famous unsponsored pick segment. Today we'll have the All-Star Derby picks, and then on Thursday we'll get back to NBA basketball, Major League Baseball. I'll tell you right now, and I'll get to it at the pick segment, Phoenix Suns are the way to go on Wednesday, but I might have another pick as well too as it relates to the game. All right, we're going to take another 30-second break. We're going to talk Major League Baseball. We'll start with the National League. We'll talk about who's hot, who's not, who are buyers, who are sellers as we get moving into the second half of the season. The Yankees-Red Sox will open on Thursday night as the only game, and then everybody else will start on Friday, including 2 doubleheaders to be made up on Friday afternoon. Back in 30, I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 12th, 2021. We'll be back in one 30-second break. Thanks again to everybody joining us on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Again, we're here Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, different times to make sure we include all the games. This is the All-Star break week. NBA Finals are going on. Phoenix with a 2-1 series lead. The All-Star break comes at a good time for a lot of teams. So what are you? Are you a buyer or a seller? Let's go through the divisions here and see what we can decipher from all the teams here. By the way, on Thursday, on the Make the Money and Run podcast. It'll be noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. John Parado, former Pittsburgh Pirates beat writer, now with sportsbettingdime.com, will join us. We'll get his takes on the second half of the season and what teams have to do to either keep themselves in contention or trade off their pieces to get themselves some commodities going forward and trying to build up for the future. Let's start with the National League East. The Mets are in first place. How can you be sold on the Mets? They don't hit. I mean, they've got good pitching. Obviously, Jacob deGrom, the world beater there. Taijuan Walker is an ERA under 2 for the Mets. They're pitching great. Their bullpen, they blew a 5-0 lead yesterday to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Edwin Diaz blew the 5-4 save in the ninth. The Pirates ended up getting another run in the ninth, and they ended up winning 6-5. Pittsburgh has not won very many games this year. Because of that loss, Philadelphia is 4 games behind, and Atlanta is 5 games behind. The Nationals get swept by San Francisco. They're back, I think, like 5 games back, 6 games back as well in the loss column. And the Miami Marlins, who beat Atlanta yesterday, are 9 games back in the loss column. They're on a 2-week hot streak from being able to catch the Mets because the Mets aren't able to run away with this division. They don't hit the ball well. All their averages are between 220 and 260. Their pitching right now, their starting pitching right now is holding up in it. And what a shame for the Atlanta Braves, and I mean this sincerely. Ronald Acuna Jr., the all-star starter, Atlanta Braves outfielder. Yeah, he's a little flamboyant for some people, especially old school, but what a talent he is. He tore his ACL over the weekend. He's going to miss the entire season. He's going to miss the rest of the season, and that is too bad for Atlanta because that's a superstar in the waiting, and you never know how you're going to recover from ACLs. But the fact is that Ronald Acuna Jr. is out for the season, and it's not good, and it's not looking good for Atlanta. And that may change their possibilities on what they do as a seller or as a buyer in terms of what they do in the second half. I still think they're good enough to match up with the Mets, and I got to believe that they're going to be able to be right there with the Mets through the rest of the year. And then Philadelphia, with all that talent, they're still 4 games back. They're 1 game under 500, but they have all that talent. They throw the ball around too much around the infield for my taste. And Bryce Harper's not hitting. Real Muto's hitting a little bit. Hoskins has a few home runs. And then Didi Gregorius back from injury, having himself a pretty good year. Alec Bowman, they took 2 out of 3 from Boston over the weekend in Boston. That's not an easy thing to do. And Alec Bowman was responsible for a lot of those runs, RBIs, especially on Sunday. He had 4 RBIs going in. He had 4 RBIs in the game yesterday against the Red Sox on Sunday. So that's the National League East. Tell us again what you think on the National League East. Tell us by your emails, by your Twitter posts, however you want to get a hold of us. You can do it any way you can. The Cincinnati Reds are the most dangerous team in the National League Central right now. They've won 3 straight. They beat Milwaukee 3 straight. They're now 4 games back in the division of Milwaukee. Milwaukee had Woodruff. They had Peralta. They did not have Corbin Burns going this last weekend, but Cincinnati beat Peralta and beat Woodruff. And Milwaukee doesn't hit very well. They were only, up until about a week ago, they were only hitting 210 overall. So you got to think that that's going to catch up to them later down the road. I'm not completely sold on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cincinnati Reds right now are as dangerous as anybody. Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, MVP candidates starting in the outfield. They're already in Denver. And then Jonathan India, good leadoff hitter for the Reds, playing second base. He's done very well, hitting in the 280s. He's got 7 home runs. He's got a little pop in his bat as well, too. And the pitching has been better than most people thought. Wade Miley's come in and pitched really well. Sonny Gray, coming off injury, has pitched okay for them as well, too. But right now, as it comes to the Cincinnati Reds, it comes down to their offense. Joey Votto's swinging a good bat as well, too. And he's hitting the ball lights out right now as well. So the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals are both 8 games back. St. Louis game with Chicago postponed on Sunday, but they did win on Saturday. So they split the series. Kyle Hendricks, by the way, for future wagers on Kyle Hendricks, anytime he plays the St. Louis Cardinals, Kyle Hendricks is 12-1 against the Cardinals. You heard me right, 12-1 against the Cardinals. I don't even remember when the one loss was, but you got to think it was something that was out of the ordinary because no one can dominate another major league team like that except if your name is Kyle Hendricks and the opponent is the St. Louis Cardinals. So great job by Kyle Hendricks. The Cubs split the series in 2 games with the Cardinals. They get a postponement on Sunday. They'll make that game up on September 24th as part of a doubleheader in Chicago. So let's move on now to the National League West. If you told me the San Francisco Giants would have the best record in baseball, I would think you're crazy. Now, I thought they were going to be good, and I didn't think the Padres were going to be as good, but I thought they could play with the Dodgers a little bit, but I didn't think they'd be as good as they were where they are. They have 57 wins right now. They swept the Nats 3 games in San Francisco. They're ahead of LA. They're ahead of LA and 8 ahead of San Diego. 3 games ahead of LA, 8 games ahead of San Diego. The Padres lost 2 out of 3 to Colorado. That should never happen, but that's what happened. They did lose 2 out of 3 to Colorado. Injuries have affected LA, but the depth has been good. Depth has been not that good. No Bauer, no Kershaw. They're both on the IL. They're going with openers and bullpen games on the other 3 starts. Right now, Tony Gonsolin went yesterday. David Price went on Saturday. They got 22 runs on Saturday, so they really didn't worry about that. But Tony Gonsolin, and then they've got other guys that are going to come in. Jake Reed had an opener start last week too. But right now, and now with no Kershaw and no Bauer, the only 2 starters that they had, Julio Urias becomes the ace of the staff, the de facto ace of the staff, and he pitched great on Friday. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 1 run to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Max Muncy with the game-winning home run last night in the bottom of the 9th against Arizona. He had a 3-run jack to win it. Jorge Polanco did the same for the Twins. We'll talk about that in a second as we get to the American League. But right now, it's the Giants division. What do you think the Giants need to do, Giants fans? I live in the Bay Area. Do they need to trade for another pitcher? Do they need to trade for a closer? Do they need to trade for another bat? Probably yes in all cases. But I'm telling you, Chris Bryant and the Chicago Cubs will probably be available. Craig Kimbrell and the Cubs will probably be available too. I don't know if they're happy with Tyler Rogers and Jake McGee as their closers in the 8th and 9th inning. Dominic Leone has been great for the Giants. He's pitched well in the 7th innings of these games. He's kind of become the de facto 7th inning guy with Rogers being the 8th guy. Jake McGee has 17 saves, by the way, for the San Francisco Giants. So I would consider riding him for a while. And then if you get a guy like Chris Bryant, he can play 5 positions, third, first, all 3 outfield positions. It'll be a good change if in fact he's on the move. Anywhere he's on the move. The Cubs were right there with the Brewers about 3 Mondays ago. They were even and tied for first place. And depending on whose perspective you had, whichever way they were going to go, they were either going to be buyers or sellers from that standpoint. The Ricketts family said at the beginning of the year, the owners of the Cubs said that they were going to be sellers, and then they started winning, and then they became buyers, and now they're sellers again after that 9-game losing streak they had. So it'll be interesting to see what the Cubs do. They've got players out there that are available as well. Kyle Gibson is another name pitching-wise that's available from the Texas Rangers. He'll probably be on a lot of people's lists as well. And Matthew Boyd, we talk about him every year with the Detroit Tigers as well too. All right, so San Francisco 4 straight. They swept the Daps. They're 3 games ahead of LA, 8 games ahead of the Padres in the loss column. San Diego lost 2 out of 3 to Colorado. Good pitching game by John Gray yesterday against the Padres. And then LA injuries and depth, and their bullpen still struggling and now with no Kershaw and no Bauer, they're going to have to figure out how to get through these games coming up as the second half of the season opens. San Diego will go to Washington. San Francisco will go to Washington will host San Diego. San Francisco will go to St. Louis, and I think LA. I'm not sure where LA goes, but LA will be on the road as well too. So all 3 National League West teams will be on the road. Let's check out Facebook here. The Facebook comments here. Padres pitchers injuries: Darvish, Snell, and Weathers. Yep, Ryan Weathers got hurt yesterday. Good call, Nick. Blake Snell or Christine, I'm sorry. Nick Robinson had the other content for the home run derby. Nick Robinson's our intern. He liked to do the nice prom picture there, by the way, Nick. Looking good there. But he likes Matt Olson over Mancini at 175. Actually, Nick, that line went up to 210. But Matt Olson would be the 3rd A's player to win the home run derby behind Cespedes and McGuire, if in fact he does win. Colorado, a good place for him to hit. So thanks to everybody on Facebook Live and YouTube Live as well as download and subscribing anywhere you get your podcast. You just find that logo up there in the corner. Download, subscribe, rate, and review. We really appreciate it. It does go a long way. All right, let's move to the American League East now. Boston Red Sox have struggled a little bit. They lost 2 straight over the weekend to Philadelphia. They've got a 1-game lead against Tampa Bay right now. Tampa Bay lost yesterday to Robbie Ray and the Toronto Blue Jays. By the way, what a turnaround for Robbie Ray and the Blue Jays. He had a no-hitter going into the 6th inning in their game at Tampa Bay. But Boston's still a game ahead going into the break. And then Toronto 8 games back with the Yankees, 6 and 7 in the loss column, respectively. So Toronto 6 back in the loss column. The Yankees are 7 back in the loss column. That means that they played less games than what Boston has. And so therefore, that's why they're shorter than they are in actual games behind in the column that you see in the newspaper. The Yankees take 2 out of 3 from Houston. Did you see the way Houston won yesterday? They were down 7-2 in the 9th inning. They get 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th, a couple of singles, a hard double, another hard double by Del Toro that almost went out. Next thing you know, it's 7-5 with 2 on, and who comes up? No Aroldis Chapman, by the way. Chad Green was in there closing. No Chapman in there, but Aroldis Chapman not in the game. Chad Green in the game. He leaves the slider a little bit up to Altuve, who knocks it out of the park into the Crawford boxes. A 3-run home run in the bottom of the 9th, walk-off style, and the Houston Astros get a win out of that. We'll talk about Houston as it relates to Oakland, but a big comeback. The Yankees were on the verge of sweeping that series, but instead they take 2 out of 3, and now they still remain 8 games back in the division behind Boston. That would have been sweet to win and maybe gain a game on the Red Sox as well, too. Let's go over to the AL Central. The Chicago White Sox keep rolling. Liam Hendricks scares a lot of people. He's the closer for the White Sox, but Liam Hendricks gave up a 2-run home run to the aforementioned Trey Mancini to right field that tied the game up at 4 before Adam Engel of all people, hits a 3-run home run in the top of the 10th, and the White Sox get a 7-4 win. They've won 4 in a row. They've won 5 straight. There's 7 up in the loss column over Cleveland, and Cleveland has won 3 straight as well. They are playing. Let's see, Cleveland 3 straight. They swept Kansas City over the weekend. Cleveland has pitching issues, however, with Shane Bieber not there. He's an all-star. He's an all-star candidate. He's an all-star participant, but he might not be there. Remember, Shane Bieber pitched in the all-star game 2 years ago in Cleveland, and he struck out the 3 batters, ended up getting the MVP award as the American League won in 2019. Aaron Savali, I still haven't seen his name on an all-star roster unless somebody has an updated roster. Aaron Savali's 11-3 going into the break, and he didn't even get named anything as far as the all-star team goes. So if there's still availability for a pitching partner, Kevin Cash and the Tampa Bay Rays, who were in the World Series last year, Kevin Cash, go get Aaron Savali to show up in Denver for tomorrow night as well, too. On Facebook, Pomeranz, Lamet, and Ramirez, Christine in San Diego. Absolutely, Christine, you're totally right. Pomeranz out of the bullpen to Nelson Lamé. Big starter last year for them and 2 years ago as well, too. And then the other one that she had too was Ramirez, yeah. Ramon Ramirez on the injured list as well, too. So it's gonna be tough for the Padres to get going here. We'll talk about that. Charlie will be with me on Thursday. John Parado. We'll have all the baseball conversation on Thursday as the second half gets going. Last thing in the Major League Baseball, the NL West, the walk-off we told you by Altuve against New York. They are 4 games ahead of the Oakland A's in the loss column after the win versus Texas. The A's got Seattle is 5 games over. Go figure that. Even though they lost to the Angels yesterday, they're 7 games back. The Angels take the last game of the series and are 9 games back. Not that far out, considering how baseball is being played right now in 2021. You got to think that the Angels at 9 games back, they get on a hot streak. And, of course, you've got the guy Ohtani in your lineup every day. You just got to figure that they may be able to make a run here against Oakland and Houston. They're going to have some games with Houston and Oakland coming up later, as well as Seattle too. Seattle, LA, Houston, and Oakland all fighting it out for the top spot as well as the wild card spot. Going back to the American League West, like I said, Houston right now, the class of the American League West right now, they've got the best record in baseball, the best record in the American League. They've got 55 wins. The Red Sox are right there as well too, and Oakland is right there as well too. The Giants, however, have the best record in baseball, both in winning percentage and number of wins, and so they're right there. What are the Giants going to do in terms of trading buyers? They are buyers. They are going for it. They are winning right now, and that's what players want to see. Players want to see that you're willing to help the team as a general manager, and that, thank God, the Giants do not have the Cubs management team right now, because they probably would be selling off pieces right now. Even if they were in first place, they probably would be selling off pieces too. Very interesting situation. I remember a trade a few years ago with the White Sox. They were in first place, and then they traded Wilson Alvarez and Roberto Hernandez away, and the White Sox ended up losing the division. Cleveland ended up going to the World Series that year to lose to the Miami Marlins in 1997. All right, that's going to do it for baseball. We'll be back in 30 seconds. We'll give you some picks here. We'll give you some things to look out for in the Home Run Derby and the All-Star competition. Vasu Vaddiparty here for the Make the Money and Run podcast, powered by Stables Media on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, as well as you can download, subscribe anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Anywhere you can see that logo, you can download, subscribe, share it with your friends. let us know what you want us to talk about. mtmarpodcast@gmail.com and also on Twitter at mtmarpodcast. Back in 30 seconds with the final segment of the Make the Money and Run. Welcome back, Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vaddiparty here, Charlie O on assignment, powered by Stables Media. Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We're here before all the games start. So 3 o'clock Eastern on Mondays. Home Run Derby tonight, the All-Star break taking place. NBA Finals, we'll have Game 4 on Wednesday. Phoenix with a 2-1 series lead after Milwaukee won 120-100. And then on Fridays, this Friday when baseball comes back, we'll have a preview of the second half of the year. Want to know from everybody what you think on Facebook and YouTube. Buyers or sellers, your baseball team, are they buyers or sellers? Even some of you guys that think that your sellers could be buyers instead, depending on who they go after. It's not the NBA. You just don't want to trade for people just for salary because you're not going to – it doesn't affect the salary cap. There's no salary cap in baseball. Chicago Cubs, one of the teams people looking at. The Texas Rangers, another team people looking at. Kyle Gibson, Joey Gallo from the Rangers, Chris Bryant, a big name being talked about, Craig Kimbrell, the outstanding closer for the Cubs. Those are names being bandied about as well, too. The Minnesota Twins, Nelson Cruz, Josh Donaldson, two of the names talked about there, as well as some of the relievers that they've got there, too. Taylor Rogers, the twin brother of Tyler Rogers of the San Francisco Giants, maybe a trade candidate as well, too. If you need a left-hander, you need a guy that's got experience closing games, there's another guy that's there too. Like I said, Charlie and I will break it down on Thursday. Buyers and sellers as the post-All-Star break part of the baseball season continues on. Remember, the trade waiver deadline is July 31st of this year. So July 31st, no more non-waiver trades can be made. After July 31st, you have to send it through waivers. And then by August 31st, you have to designate your 40-man roster so you can have all the players you need for postseason if, in fact, you are a postseason team. All right. And then, of course, the NBA Finals. Milwaukee Bucks are favored by 4 and 220.5 for Game 4. Game 4 Wednesday night. Giannis had 41 points in the game. And then Holiday 21, 5, and 9. He's come out and played well, as did Chris Middleton, who had 18, although his shooting was a little off yesterday. So what do you think? Phoenix is going to make a game of it in Game 4. They're going to come back with a 3-1 lead. Back to the home of the desert, or is it going to be Milwaukee? Even in this series, going back to Phoenix with Game 5. Love to hear your thoughts on Facebook Live and YouTube Live as well. All right, not really a pick segment that we're going to have, a worldwide famous unsponsored pick segment of the Make the Money and Run podcast. Obviously, no picks today for games. There are no games. The Euro Cup League is going on. The Copa CONCACAF is going on too. Not really our cup of tea as far as soccer goes. But a very interesting game ended up in penalty kicks by Italy as they ended up beating New England 3-2 on penalty kicks and end up taking the Euro Cup. So England did not come through like everybody thought they would. They were a pretty heavy favorite, but Italy did come through as an underdog. So Italy with the Euro League championship as well too. One more note on Major League Baseball. Let me get this. I took a photo of it of Major League Baseball. The Major League Baseball draft was yesterday. So let me see if I have this here. Henry Davis, a catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, was taken. Number 1, Jack Leiter, the nephew of Al Leiter, pitcher number 2 for Texas. Jackson Jobe, a pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. Marcelo Meyer, shortstop for the Red Sox. Colton Cowser by the Baltimore Orioles was picked 5th. Jordan Lawler was picked 6th by Arizona. Frankie Mozzicato by Kansas City. Benny Montgomery, the center fielder for Colorado Rockies. And then Sam Bachman for the LA Angels. He's a pitcher. And Kumar Rocker, if you haven't seen him pitch at Vanderbilt, he got picked by the New York Mets at number 10. That's all they need is more good pitching for the New York Nets. So that's per ESPN, the top 10 draft picks. They were on TV yesterday. It was very interesting to see the draft process and how Major League Baseball goes about it because it's not like the NFL or like the NBA where they're going to make an immediate impact right away. These guys are going to have about a year or so in low ball, and then next year they'll be able to get going and hopefully contribute to the teams that they were drafted on. All right, as far as picks go tonight, not really a lot of picks tonight. I would have to say if I had to pick tonight, home run derby, I would go with Shohei Ohtani. He's plus 175, which means if you throw $100 out, you're going to win 175 back. But I would seriously consider Shohei Ohtani to win. Trevor Story is a good story in Colorado. He's a plus 750. Trey Mancini, a great story coming off cancer. And Pete Alonso, one of the better stories. He won the home run derby 2 years ago in New York. And Salvador Perez at plus 1,400 for the Kansas City Chiefs. He has 21 home runs. He's the catcher for the Chiefs as well, too. First round odds, Ohtani minus 260 over Soto plus 210. Alonso minus 250 over Perez, who's plus 200. Gallo minus 200 versus Trevor Story at plus 160. And Matt Olson minus 215 over Trey Mancini. Right there in the home run derby. So it's going to be interesting. And then tomorrow night, the All-Star game at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock on the West Coast. You can catch that on Fox as well. We'll have all the breakdowns of all the games going forward. The Yankees-Red Sox will open Thursday night, and then there'll be 2 doubleheaders on Sunday. So 17 games to open up baseball in between now and then. Oh, and I have one other pick for you, the Milwaukee Bucks and Phoenix Suns. I am going to take Phoenix plus 4, but I'm going to temper that by saying keep checking our picks on all our social media pages. But right now I'm going to go with the Bucks at plus 4. Might buy them up to 4.5 or 5, depending on how it goes. But the odds makers think that Phoenix is going to come out and play better, and why shouldn't they? They did the same thing against the Clippers. They looked flat in game 3. They'll come back in game 4 and play well and end up beating them. And I think the Suns have a good chance to do that against Milwaukee as well, too. All right, don't forget on Thursday, John Parada will be our guest. He'll break down a lot of the baseball for the second half of the season, post-All-Star break. John Parada, sportsbettingdime.com, will join us. He's also been a beat writer for the Pittsburgh Pirates for a number of years, so he's there. We'll ask him how covering baseball this year is completely different than it was the last couple of years, but it seems like everything's kind of back to normal based on what I saw over the weekend. It seems like a lot of the local reporters are getting back into the faces of the players and managers, as we say, but not really. But I think everybody's happy to have everybody back, and it might be fun to see some of the inside scoops on these stories. But right now, as we said, the Giants, the Brewers, the Mets in the National League all leading their division. The Red Sox, the White Sox, and the Astros all leading their division in the American League. And I've got the Milwaukee Bucks on Wednesday plus 4. I love Ohtani tonight. I'm not going to Ohtani to win the home run derby, definitely to win the first round against Juan Soto at minus 260. You'll have to think about that if you're interested in taking something like that for the home run derby. This might be a time just to take a few days off and just wait for baseball to kick in. The Yankees-Red Sox start on Thursday night, and everybody else will start on Friday as well, too. All right, you can catch us Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 3 o'clock Eastern on Mondays, noon Eastern on Thursdays, and 1 Eastern on Sundays, right here on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. And if you can download, subscribe, rate, and review, we'd appreciate it as we send this out to everybody around the world trying to get into the podcasting business, trying to get into the sports wagering business. Don't forget, we're powered by Stables Media. Check out Stables Media. If you're interested in podcasting, feel free to do so. Contact somebody at Stables Media, and we'll get you set up as fast as possible. All right, I'm Vasu Vaddiparty for Charlie O, who's on assignment. He'll be back on Thursday. Again, John Parada on Thursday with us from sportsbettingdime.com. That's the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 12th, 2021. Have a great afternoon. Good luck in all your games. We'll see you Thursday at 3 Eastern for the resumption of the Major League Baseball season and talk about the All-Star game and go from there. All right? Have a good night, everybody. Take care.